Welcome to Monobiology. Today we're going to look at the concept of speciation. And so we're going to use our speciation booklets that you should have, and you can take notes right on the booklet as we go through this. So what is speciation? Speciation is the origin of a new species, and it fits nicely into our discussion of evolution. Before we can really understand what a new species is, we have to understand what a species is in the first place. A species is a population or a group of populations whose numbers have the potential to interbreed and produce fertile offspring. In other words, if two individuals in a population mate and produce offspring that can also have babies, they are members of the same species. Dogs. Think of all the different breeds of dogs. Believe it or not, all these different breeds of dogs are in fact members of the same species. So in actuality, we could take any two dogs just for fun, let's say a Chihuahua and a Great Dane, and we could mate them. And they would be able to technically produce fertile offspring because they're members of the same species. Now, I'm not really sure who would actually be giving birth. I would think that the Chihuahua would probably have a tough time giving birth to Great Dane babies, but in theory, it could work. So, what prevents members of different species from producing fertile offspring? Well, there are several types of what we call reproductive barriers. These reproductive barriers can be broken down into two subcategories. There's pre-zygotic barriers and post-zygotic barriers. Now, if you recall, the word zygote means a fertilized egg. So pre-zygotic barriers would be those barriers that prevent fertilization. Okay, so we're not going to have a fertilized egg at all. Okay, and there are 5 types of pre-zygotic barriers. Number 1 is habitat isolation. In essence, in this particular type of reproductive barrier, you have populations that can't get to one another in order to mate. It's a simple concept. Maybe there's a mountain in the way. Perhaps they live in different areas altogether. Maybe they're separated by a canyon like the Grand Canyon. Either way, they can't reproduce because they can't get to each other. Number 2, a behavior isolation. Sometimes organisms just have different mating behaviors, and I'm not sure how that works, but some organisms will not mate with organisms within a population because they don't like the way they act. Actually, kind of makes sense when you think about it. Number 3, temporal isolation. This is isolation due to the timing of the mating, the season of the mating, if you will. There are different members of different populations who mate at different times, and because they mate at different times, they are unable to mate with other individuals who mate at a different time than them. Right? So they breed or flower at different times, and that prevents them from reproducing. Number 4, mechanical isolation. In essence, the boy bits and the girl bits don't match up. Okay, so the boy bits and the girl bits don't match up. It's impossible. They can't have sex, and therefore they can't mate. And it's not always sex. It could be other types of things that are going on too. But they can't do it because the boy bits and the girl bits don't meet up. They have different, what we call anatomical structures. Gametic isolation is when the gametes fail to fuse. In essence, they don't recognize one another. Okay, so the sperm of a dog would not fuse with the egg of a cat. The egg of a cat would only accept the sperm of another cat. Okay, just like a human sperm would only fertilize a human egg because they're designed to fit together. There are also what we call post-zygotic barriers, so barriers that prevent the zygote from developing into a fertile offspring. Okay, so assuming that the egg, the two organisms meet, they mate, and the egg is fertilized, what prevents that offspring from being a new species? Well, here it is. Number 1, reduced hybrid viability. Even though the sperm and the egg meet and produce a zygote, the zygote fails to develop or reach sexual maturity. Maybe a miscarriage happens, maybe the animal is born stillborn, perhaps it dies at a very young age. Reduced hybrid viability. Number 2, reduced hybrid fertility. In this case, the offspring that is produced does grow and mature and reach adulthood. However, the organism is in fact sterile. So this is called reduced hybrid fertility because the hybrid is sterile. And a good example of that would be this guy here. It's a mule. A mule is the offspring between a horse and a donkey. And it is infertile. The last one is the hybrid breakdown. Hybrid produces offspring, but offspring are not viable or not fertile. In order for speciation to occur, one or more of these barriers have to develop. But how? How do these reproductive barriers develop within a population? That's what we'll look at in the next video. And that in a nutshell is an intro to speciation. Make sure you've taken notes and bring your questions to class.